Hey everybody, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this stack of 10 card games over here. I enjoy card games of all types, as in fact only 2 of these are trick takers or shedders, so they do a lot of different set collection, a lot of different types of things. I'm going over them in no particular order. I just wanted to stack them in this kind of chiasmic shape. Bigger to smaller to bigger. I just like that. I'm very proud of it. First game on the pile here is Tango, a trick-taking game for 2 players. Trick taker, if you're not familiar, typically every player is going to contribute 1 card into the table face up, and the highest number of the starting color, the starting suit, will win the trick, and you're trying to collect them for different reasons. This is one specifically only for 2 players, which I find very intriguing. I love games like this designed specifically for 2. And the little wrinkle of this one is that you have several cards in hand. You also have cards that are face up on the table. And so your opponent knows about half of the hands that you have to play, and you know about half of what your opponent has to play. And then the idea is that you're going to play a card out, your opponent plays a card, you play a second card, they play a second card, and you're going to resolve the highest number of the lead suit. Basically is going to take all of the cards, and they're going to have points on them. So you want to try to minimize. In fact, you also want to try to stick certain cards to your opponent. So it has this nice tension. It has a decent to good amount of tension, I would say, for feeling simultaneously so easy going. It also is kind of, I do not want that person to draw this 3-point card out and for them to take it, because I don't have a good way to take it from them if they force me to play it. But if I can wait till later and I play it and it's the only card of that color, they don't have a way to beat it. So, like I said, good amount of tension. You're supposed to play best 2 out of 3. I really prefer this one, playing just one single hand and be like, woo, that was a fun game. But playing 2 out of 3 is not too long. It doesn't outstay its welcome either. But for the amount of tension it has, I really prefer it as like a one-hand game like this. I find it fun. They also just kickstarted a smaller box version of it, which is fine because this is not a small box, but even then it could be smaller. I still enjoy it, one to add to a decent repertoire of good 2-player trick-taking games out there. I'm giving Tango a 7.5. I recommend it. I really like it. Next up, Keyframes. This is from a new company, Combo Games. I'll also be reviewing their other recent game out here in this pile later. This is from the designers of White Castle, and it's a small set collection game. You are going to, every player at the table will put a card face down, simultaneously reveal it, and largest number first, you're going to grab cards from the middle of the table, and you're trying to work on animatics or animations. It has great illustrations that remind me of Looney Tunes and Emperor's New Groove and stuff like that. I love this hand-drawn animation theming to it. The game overall has good set collection. I'm a little disappointed with 4 players. You have to play as a team variant. But that's probably to help it feel less chaotic. Lower player count, you don't do that. So I think that that's good. It's fun. It doesn't bring enough new to the table for me to really recommend it, but I also enjoy it. And I do find the art and the theming incredibly charming. So it's a 6.5 for Keyframes from me. Next up, Wizard's Cup. From famed designer Seiji Kanai of Love Letter. This is one, it's a bit of an auto battler, so if you've played like Challengers, or it mixes kind of war with this. But the idea is that every player has an equal deck of 18 cards, from which they choose 6 cards each round, and they organize 5 of them, and there's 1 set off to the side. And then you start playing top card against top card. So you don't know what your opponent's done, and you know you've stacked your deck in a certain way. So it's a bit random, it's a bit chaotic, and it has a nice way where suits will beat other suits, and then if there's not an obvious, water defeats fire, then you check the numbers. So it's a good system to it of tie-breaking and interesting little actions. However, it's not chaotic enough to be zany kooky the way that Challengers was and impressed me from there, but it's also not serious enough to be a good battling game. So Wizard's Cup is going to get a 6 from me. An interesting romp and an interesting experiment, maybe more than a fun game to play. Next up, Dancing Queen. This is a very small, very little game where you're going to play, each player puts out a card face up. That's like an objective they're trying to fulfill. And then they're going to play certain cards face down. If played oriented this way, it's a boy dancer, and this way, it's a girl dancer. And there's little ways to change them up, to change which one is actually your objective that you're going for. It's clever, but it's not terribly fun, and I think it doesn't execute on its premise as well as it could. Definitely chaotic, kind of silly at times, but still, it's a 5 for me for Dancing Queen. I find it okay at best. The smallest card in the game stack here, Eye Duel from Smart Flamingo Games. This game is called Eye to Eye because the hook of it is you're trying to play cards out into these different piles and rearrange them and stuff, but you have to keep your eyes locked on the other player. It's super weird. I thought I have a very high likelihood of disliking this game as you're trying to play out these different piles and then choose which is going to be the best pile type of a thing. I liked this shockingly a lot. I thought that, it's such a small game, and so it doesn't have to be amazing. And for a micro game, kind of like these last two games didn't really fulfill on their premise as well, this one does. It absolutely does, but you got to be okay with a little bit stupid in your gameplay. And if you are, you're going to find this very fun. So that's why I'm going to be giving Eye to Eye Duel a 7, and I'm recommending it. A weird one, but a cool one. And I don't really have a lot more to say about it. There are enough nice wrinkles to it, but that whole hook of having to keep eye contact with each other puts you in a certain mindset, a certain place in which you say, this is going to be one of those silly, weird games, and it is. Mini Dinosaur is up next. This is from a designer I really, really enjoy, Zonge, from Taiwan. He's Good Game Publishing, did originally one of my favorite games of all time, which is Vegetable Stock. Now, this one is not as good as Vegetable Stock, but I do find it quite charming and quite enjoyable. The idea of it is everyone has a hand of cards. They're going to be playing the leftmost card from their hand, or they may optionally get rid of cards from the left, but you're really limiting your pool of what you have there. And so you're playing dinosaurs out to the middle of the table, and they're running in this goofy little race. And the illustrations are adorable. And the first dinosaur to hit, color of dinosaur to hit 6 out there wins the race. And then you're also you can take turns instead of playing the dinosaur cards out. You can play objective cards out. You're betting on the race, so to speak. So it's like a mini micro card game version of Ready, Set, Bet-ish, right? Or if you've played Reiner Knizia's Modern Art, the card game, or Masters Gallery it was called, it's decent. It feels decently inspired by that, where you're trying to make certain things happen, and you are in control of those things that are happening, the race that's happening. It's good. It's cute. I like this one. I'm going to give this a 7.5. I'm recommending it if you get a chance to pick this up at Essen like I did, or see some of the other games, a place where you can find international games like that. I don't think it's so good that it's worth importing for an exorbitant fee, but for a small game, man, it does have its really funny moments. So yeah, Mini Dinosaur, quite like, 7.5. Singapore, 1889. This is a set collection game where you're playing cards out to try to gather stuff from the river. You take little actions, and you move this little raid card. And the idea is that you are smuggling goods. And so the card that eventually gets raided when a certain number of symbols are out in that river of 4 cards, the face-up display, then whichever card has the raid over it will get taken from the government, and then the value of that good goes up because there's less of it, because it's being taken away. So the more that you smuggle in, the better off you're going to be. It is a great premise that is far too random. I did not like this one at all. You only collect 7 cards over the course of the game. And there's not enough time to balance out the randomness, but it's also too swingy. So I'm charmed by the illustration and the idea and the history behind it, but ultimately it's just not fun to play. So it's a 4 from me. I unfortunately really dislike Singapore 1889. Infiltraitors. This is a deduction game from Pandasaurus Games, designed John Keane and Liam Keane. This is really cool. The theme of this one, the illustration, very much caught me immediately. It's like, ooh, this is striking. And the idea is that you are trying to cooperatively play cards out that are going to tell other players information about a card you have face down in front of you. So you're playing cards face up, and you can play them face up if they match color, or if they match the number, or if they're a multiplier of the number of your face down card. And then other players can play cards at you, and then you can say, yes, that is something I could legally display face up. Yes, it matches some attribute on a card. Or you can turn it sideways and say it doesn't match. And you have to try to complete a certain number of those cards before the deck runs out. Now, my favorite little hook, little gimmick to this is it comes with a cardboard gun. There's actually a cardboard gun and a certain number of bullet tokens you take on the table. And when you're ready to officially declare your deduction, you take the gun off of the little holder, you point it at a card, you load the bullet, and you say, that's the yellow 7. There's so many games like Codenames where you have to kind of guess at things and people are like, final answer? Oh, did you touch the card? That's supposed to, you know what I mean? This one makes no mistake about it. You can discuss all you want, but until you point and you cock that gun, right? It's just all discussion. But once you have it there, you say it. I really like that because it just kind of cleans up that little part of the game. And so it is a solid deduction game. I think that there are a few that are better than it. Expressions from Barn-Made Games. I like the way of using those cards a little bit more, but this one also has more missions and more variety and more ways to kind of ramp up the difficulty and change it up. I'm very impressed with Infiltrators. I'm giving this one an 8. I think it's a solid deduction card game. Great component gimmick. I like it a lot. So yeah, one that more people should check out. Prophecy. This is the first game I've gotten to play in what is the yellow cards line. They are taking some of their older trick-taking games and card games and putting them into a more specific line. And so in there's going to be Lose from designer Taiki Shinzawa. An older one I have played called Dwarf King, chaotic, fun, 3-suit trick-taking game. But we haven't gotten that new branding. I'm excited about this because I like yellow, and I like card games like this. So this is going to be a good line. Prophecy is the first one I've gotten to try. This is a trick-taking game where at the start of each hand, you have to discard a certain number of cards from your hand, and that is going to equal your bid. So if you say, hey, looking at this hand, I think I'm going to win 3 tricks, you could discard a 0. So the suits are like Sun, which represents 0. You could then discard a Spear, which represents a 1, and a Twin Snakes card. These are all the different suits. That represents 2 bids. Sun looks like a 0. Spear looks like a 1, right? 2 and 3. Or if you say, I want to discard these cards, I think I can win like 5 of these tricks. You can discard a 3, a 2, and a 0, or a 3, a 1, and a 1. And so the cards you're getting rid of are intrinsically tied to what you're betting and saying, I bet I can win this many tricks. And that's neat because there's also a rotating trump suit every round. So sometimes you're like, yeah, I want to do 4. I'll get rid of 2, a 2, and a 0. I don't know if I want to do that actually because the 2s that I'm getting rid of, the Twin Snakes suit, is the trump suit, and that'll weaken my ability to actually win those 4 tricks. So you have to think about that. It's neat, and I like it. I think my biggest complaint is it kind of outstays its welcome. As a basic trick-taking game, it has a few little twist cards, it's good, but you're supposed to play 8 hands of it, and I find it too long and a little too repetitive for what this one is. You can play the short version at 5 hands, and that is good, but still drags just a little bit. So 3 hands feels great because it is fairly simple, but the best part of it is that hook of bidding. It is based off of, it must be based off of at least, the classic card game 99, which is a trick-taking game where you bid with the suits, same type of thing. I think there's a nice riff on that. A little too wash and rinse repeat for me. So I'm giving this one a 6. Still a game I enjoy, but not special. And gosh, what great production, art and production stuff on this one. So it's a 6 overall, though. And lastly in the pile, Neko Syndicate. This is a game from Danny Garcia, a designer who I've enjoyed so many of his early games. And this comes from Combo Games, which I pointed out earlier, so along with Keyframes. Now this one is the most robust of the games here. It's an engine-building game, and it does come with other wooden components, but the main hook of it is that you're building out a display of cards. You start with your Yakuza cat, whatever. You start with your boss guy for your little syndicate there. And then every round you have the choice to either add more cards to it or to kind of activate some income and stuff. So you choose that. And then based on what you choose, you take your little cat marker, and then you go down the side of that column. You're building this pyramid out. And so as you choose to go a certain direction and activate a certain action, you then have to follow that split of the pyramid. So I want to take this action. I can't because I have to go this way to activate this one, which means I can only kind of branch down from it. It does the reverse of Imperial Miners, a game that Z and I really like, right? And so it kind of builds it from the top down. And as you're going down, you're also building this map that you have to do this sort of pick up and deliver type thing where you get different cubes out there and you have to deliver these types of sushis to other cards within your grid. It does a lot with a little, and it has a playtime. It says 30 minutes, and I think that's fairly accurate. There's a lot of simultaneous to this game, so the biggest critique might be the lack of player interaction per se. But in terms of building an engine, executing it, having a lot over a few spaces, this is very good. I'm very impressed with this one, and I look forward to playing it more. So Neko Syndicate, I'm going to give this one an 8. Definitely recommending it. I think that one's very solid. So there you go, folks. That is my pile of card games that I looked at here. So if you've played any of these, let me know what you think of them below. If any of them have caught your eye, I hope this has been an informative review pile for you. All right, folks. Until next time, my name is Chris Yee. Y'all take care.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video on the Dice Tower. Hey, do you want to know what's going on with Dice Tower? Do you want to know about our events, our cruises, special things that we're going to do live here in the Dice Tower? Subscribe to Dice Tower Digest. Go to DicetowerDigest.com. It's a newsletter that we send out bi-weekly. We won't use your email for anything else. This is just to get you some information about the Dice Tower so you'll be up to date. Thanks for watching.